David and Kemi love story was one that many admired. From the moment they met at a mutual friend's wedding in Abuja, sparks flew between them. David was a tall, soft-spoken man and was drawn to Kemi's warmth and intelligence. David was born into the family of Mr. and Mrs. Adeshina in Osun State. The Adeshinas were a close-knit family of 5, and David was the firstborn. From a young age, he was known for his intelligence and hard-working nature. He often told his parents, "I want to be a banker," and he pursued that dream with great determination and discipline. Kemi, on the other hand, was born in Lagos to the family of Mr. and Mrs. Jackson Femi. She was the third child in a family of 4. Kemi was focused, determined, and full of life. Her warmth and intelligence stood out wherever she went, and she had a natural charm that made people feel at ease. She was especially passionate about education and had always dreamed of working in the medical field. It wasn't long before their friendship blossomed into something deeper. After 2 years of dating, David proposed during a quiet dinner at their favorite restaurant in Joby, and Kemi said yes without hesitation. They were married 6 months later. Life as a married couple in Abuja was not without its challenges, but David and Kemi faced them together, always finding comfort in each other's company. David worked as a branch manager at one of the leading banks in the city, while Kemi was a dedicated secondary school teacher at a private school in Lugby. Their lives were busy, but they made time for each other, sharing meals and long conversations whenever they could. Their apartment in a quiet estate in Maitama in Abuja had become a home filled with love and laughter. The 2-bedroom space was modest but comfortable, decorated with a mix of Kemi's Ifor style and David's penchant for minimalism. The small living room was their favorite spot. In the evenings, they would often sit together on the plush gray couch, Kemi's head resting on David's shoulder as they watched Nollywood movies or shared stories about their day. "David, I think we should visit Mama this weekend," Kemi suggested one Friday evening as they sat together after dinner. "It's been a while, and she mentioned something about missing your cooking." David smiled, knowing full well that his mother always used his cooking as an excuse to have them visit. "Mama will never change. She misses you more than the food, but I'm sure she won't complain if I make some jollof rice while we're there." Kemi chuckled, the sound soft and familiar, filling the room with a warmth that David had grown used to over the years. It was moments like this that made their relationship so special, the ease with which they communicated, the quiet intimacy they shared. Weekends were often spent visiting David's family in Osun State or Kemi's family in Lagos State. They both came from close-knit households, and family was important to them. They had spoken often about starting their own family someday, but they weren't in a rush. For now, they were content with the life they had built together. But despite the peaceful rhythm of their lives, there was a lingering emptiness that neither of them wanted to acknowledge. It had been almost 3 years since their wedding, and while they had not actively tried to have children, the absence of a baby had begun to weigh on them, especially Kemi. She had heard whispers from family members, subtle comments about when they would finally start a family. David's mother, Mama David, had even dropped a few hints during their last visit. "David, you know you're not getting any younger," she had said gently, her tone laced with expectation. "It's time to give me a grandchild." David had laughed it off, assuring his mother that everything would happen in due time, but the conversation stayed with him. He had noticed how quiet Kemi had become afterward, her usual cheerfulness replaced with a contemplative silence. That night, as they drove back to Abuja, Kemi had spoken in a soft voice. "Do you think something is wrong with us?" she asked, her eyes fixed on the road ahead. David had glanced at her, surprised by the question. "What do you mean?" "I mean, we've been married for a while now, and nothing has happened. Maybe we should see a doctor?" David had reached for her hand, giving it a reassuring squeeze. "There's nothing wrong with us, Kemi. These things take time. We're not in a rush, remember? Kemi had nodded, but the worry in her eyes remained. She loved David deeply, but the thought of not being able to give him a child haunted her. She wanted to believe that everything would work out as he said, but there were days when her fears got the better of her. Despite these occasional moments of doubt, their marriage remained strong. They had learned to lean on each other through difficult times, and their bond only grew with each passing day. David was Kemi's rock, always calm and steady, while she brought a lightness to his life that balanced out his serious nature. It was a Thursday evening, and David had just returned from work, tired but content. The bank had been unusually busy that day, and all he wanted was to relax with Kemi over a hot meal. She had prepared ifo riro and pounded yam, and the smell of the stew filled the apartment, making his stomach growl in anticipation. As they sat down to eat, David's phone buzzed on the table. He glanced at the screen and saw that it was his younger brother, Jide. David's face lit up as he answered the call. Jide had always been his favorite sibling, the one he had looked out for since they were children. Though they were 5 years apart, they had always been close. Jide. It's been a while. How are you? David's greeted, his tone warm and welcoming. Brother, I'm fine, but I need your help. Jide's voice came through the line, sounding slightly stressed. David brow furrowed. Jide had just completed his National Youth Service Corps, NYSC, in Kaduna State a few months ago, and David knew he had been struggling to find a stable job. What's wrong? Talk to me. Jide hesitated for a moment before speaking again. I've been applying for jobs everywhere, but nothing has come through. I'm running out of money, and I can't afford to stay in Kaduna any longer. I was hoping I could come to Abuja and stay with you and your wife for a while, at least until I find something. David glanced at his wife Kemi, who was listening intently. He knew that she would be supportive, for she had always been kind to his family, treating them like her own. Of course, Jide, David replied without hesitation. You can stay with us for as long as you need. We'll help you get back on your feet. Kemi smiled and nodded, confirming her approval. Yes, Jide, you're welcome anytime, she added, her voice kind and sincere. Jide's relief was palpable even through the phone. Thank you, brother. I really appreciate it. I'll come down to Abuja next weekends. After the call ended, David and Kemi continued their meal, discussing Jide's situation. Kemi was genuinely excited to have him stay with them. She had always liked Jide's carefree personality, and she believed that with the right guidance, he would find his way. The weekend came quickly, and Jide arrived at their apartment late Saturday afternoon. Kemi had prepared a small welcome meal, and David had helped Jide settle into the spare bedroom. As the evening progressed, the three of them sat together, catching up on old times and sharing stories. Jide was full of life, cracking jokes and making them laugh with his usual charm. David was happy to see his brother again, and Kemi found herself enjoying his company as well. In the days that followed, Jide quickly adapted to life in their home. He was polite, helpful around the house, and always quick to lighten the mood with his sense of humor. David was glad to have him around, and Kemi didn't mind either. Having Jide there almost felt like they were extending their family, filling the apartment with more laughter and warmth. But there were small moments, fleeting glances that went unnoticed at first. Jide's eyes lingered on Kemi a little longer than they should have when she walked past. Sometimes, in the quiet of the evening, he would watch her from across the room, his gaze intense and unreadable. Kemi, oblivious to the shift, continued to treat him like a younger brother, never suspecting that anything was amiss. As the weeks went by, Jide's job search continued without much success, but David was patient. He encouraged his brother to keep trying, confident that something would come through eventually. Kemi, too, remained supportive, always ready with a kind word or a home-cooked meal to lift his spirits. Yet, beneath the surface of their seemingly peaceful life, something was stirring, something dark and dangerous that neither David nor Kemi could see coming. And one night, as Kemi lay asleep in her bed, unaware of the storm brewing in the shadows, Jide stood at the door of their bedroom, his heart racing, his thoughts no longer innocent. David slept soundly beside her, completely oblivious to what was about to unfold. The next morning, everything seemed normal. They shared breakfast, laughing about an old story from their childhood. Kemi hadn't noticed Jide's lingering glances, and David remained blissfully unaware of the unease growing within his own home. Over the next few days, Jide grew increasingly strange, avoiding Kemi's gaze and growing quieter. He spent more time away, and when David asked, he simply said he was stressed from the job search. But the silence between them grew heavier. One Friday, David had to travel for work, leaving Kemi and Jide alone. Kemi prepared dinner, planning a quiet night in, hoping it might give Jide some comfort after all the pressure he'd been feeling lately. That evening, Jide sat at the table with Kemi, quieter than usual, as they shared a meal together. The silence between them was tense, and Kemi sensed something was off. She decided to break the silence with a sincere gesture. "Brother Jide," she began gently, "I can tell something has been weighing on you lately. I know things haven't been easy, and I hope you know that we're here for you. David, my husband, and I want you to succeed, and we'll help however we can." Jide looked down, feeling a mix of shame and relief. Her kindness made him realize just how far his thoughts had drifted, and he felt a wave of remorse for the emotions he'd been harboring. I appreciate that, Kemi," he finally said, his voice shaky. "It's been hard, feeling lost and struggling with so many things. But I think I need to find a way to start fresh on my own terms." He hesitated, taking a deep breath before he continued. "Honestly, I'm grateful to you and my brother. You both have treated me with so much kindness and patience. But I've been carrying this heaviness, feeling like I'm intruding on the life you two have built. I think it's time for me to stand on my own." Kemi nodded, respecting his words and understanding his need to find his own path. "Jide, we support you, and we always will. Sometimes, finding your way means taking a step into the unknown. Whatever you decide, we're here for you." That night, Jide spent hours reflecting on his life and choices. He finally acknowledged his need to move forward and let go of the insecurities and feelings that had weighed him down. He decided to return to Osun State to live with his parents temporarily while he continued his job search from there. When David returned from his trip, Jide shared his decision with him. David was initially surprised but quickly understood his brother's need for independence. He embraced Jide, proud of him for finding the courage to take the next step on his own. "You'll always be welcome here, Jide. But I'm glad you're taking this step. You're strong, and I know you'll make us all proud," David said, his voice full of warmth and support. As Jide packed up his things, he hugged Kemi, gratitude shining in his eyes. "Thank you for everything, Kemi. I don't know what I would have done without you both. I'll never forget how much you've both helped me." Kemi smiled, her heart light. "We're family, Jide. We'll always be here for you, no matter where life takes us." With a renewed sense of purpose, Jide left for Osun State, grateful for the time he'd spent with David, his brother, and Kemi. Meanwhile, David and Kemi returned to their peaceful life, their bond even stronger for having faced the challenges together. 2 months after Jide relocated to Osun State, he found a stable job there, allowing him to support himself and reconnect with his own dreams. He called his brother, David, and said, "Brother, I have seen a nice job." David was happy, and he told Kemi. Kemi was also very happy for Jide. David and Kemi visited him often, their family ties stronger than ever. And soon after 6 years, Kemi and David were blessed with a beautiful baby girl, filling their home with even more laughter and joy. As they celebrated the birth of their daughter, David looked at Kemi with a deep, grateful love. They had overcome trials, learned to lean on each other, and come out stronger for it. Their life was not without its challenges, but they had found their way through together, and that, they knew, was the true blessing of family. Let me know where you are watching from in the comments section and what do you learn from the story. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like and share it with your friends. Please kindly subscribe to my channel and turn on your notification bell so that you can be notified whenever I upload another videos.